Welcome back to the CommittedConservative.com. I'm Rich Kelsey. I'm committed and I'm a conservative. So today it's Manic Monday at CommittedConservative.com. And that means I'm a little fired up, I'm a little manic, and I want to talk about something near and dear to my heart. An important subject, something that has transformed American society over the last 35 to 45 years, something that we talk about all the time, and something, frankly, that most people don't have a clue about, even though they talk about it and write about it and parrot what other people say about it. So let's talk about immigration. Let's talk about illegal immigration. First, rule number one. If you and I are having a conversation and you refer to immigrants who are here illegally as immigrants, I turn you right off. Okay? There is a difference between those individuals who we cherish, who we love, who come here by the book, by the rules, stand in line, and become Americans. We value them, we need them, we have to have them, and I'm a vigorous supporter of them. They are us. They are America. Don't confuse Americans and lawful immigrants and rightful visa holders with people who have come here illegally. Now, with illegal aliens, and the government calls them aliens, the ultra-left calls them undocumented. And I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. I'm not going to lie to you. When you come home at night and you find someone in your house sitting in your favorite chair, eating your favorite leftovers, watching your TV, and maybe even reading your favorite book, is your first gut instinct to call the police and report an undocumented visitor? I don't think so. That person's a criminal. They've broken into your house. They are uninvited. They are taking things that do not belong to them as if they had a right to do so. You would never call that person undocumented. Now, you might call that person a lot of things, and a lot of those terms would be quite pejorative. Criminal, thug, you name it. I could come up with a lot of bad ones, okay? In this instance, we're talking about immigrants who cross the borders of the United States and do so without permission. That act is a criminal act. Hence, the origination of the term illegal alien. Now, it is true that enormous numbers of people are here illegally because they came here illegally originally and have overstayed their visas. Technically, that's a civil violation. It's not a criminal violation. But for what we're talking about, the purposes of people who belong here properly and people who don't belong here properly, frankly, the term illegal alien, which may be considered, or illegal immigrant, which may be considered pejorative, is a fairly accurate term. It requires a series of acts, or at least one act, that is in fact illegal. And guess what? People who have overstayed their lawful visa often are also engaged in illegal activity. And let me tell you, entering this country illegally and improperly is not the only illegal act. It's often the first illegal act, because you have identity fraud, you have social security fraud, you have a whole host of other frauds in which these individuals are engaged in, not the least of which include voter fraud. I mean, we can go on and on and on. It is a life based upon a lie. That's what we're talking about here. So please, don't confuse immigrants, who we love, who frankly most of us are, and illegal immigrants, those who would cut the line or jump the toll gate in order to take part of the American dream to which they're simply not entitled. It's nonsense on stilts, and we're not going to allow you to conflate the lawful, welcome immigrants of our country with people who have essentially broken into our home to try to establish squatters' rights to the American dream. Now, here's another important concept. that the ultra left, the alt left, the radical left, the open borders left can't get their arms around. Immigration to this great country is not a right. And in fact, immigration to this great country is for the benefit of this great country. Let me say that again because I think it's a very difficult concept for particularly liberals to understand. Immigration is for the benefit of American citizens, not the primary benefit of immigrants. Now, make no mistake, they want to come here because they want to benefit. We get that. But do you realize that under refugee status, nearly 2 billion people in this world, 2 billion people in the world can make a plausible case for being a refugee or an immigrant to the United States? We do not, cannot, and will not ever allow everyone who wants to come here legally to come here legally. We can't do it. We can't do it. I've driven across this country, lots of open spaces, plenty of places to put people. We still cannot put 2 billion people in this country. So, like any sane country, we have laws and we have rules and we have parameters, and they are designed to encourage immigration into this country, particularly immigrants who bring a skill or a set of skills that is lacking and that this country needs. And that's smart. That's what it's all about. Now, most of you, obviously, if you're watching this video, at some point in your life have been on social media and some other form of social media other than the one that you're watching now. One of my all-time favorite memes on social media, and it's a great one, we talked about it this weekend with some friends at dinner, is that classic picture of a 18th century Indian chief with a large regalia and the feathers, and you take one look and you think noble chief and Indian, and usually the meme says something funny and crafty like, as far as I'm concerned, you're all illegal. And it shows up on my wall once a month, almost always posted by some left-leaning person. How far left, who knows. But it's always posted by some left-leaning person with this sneering, smug sense that, aha, you xenophobes. See, none of us have any claim to really be here. Okay. Now, listen, I get the nasty little meme. It's kind of clever and cute. But here again, use your brain. Think. Try to be a thinker. Okay? So the last person that sent this thing to me, I sent them a nice little quip back. And I said, whoa, thanks, dude. You just made the single greatest argument in the history of this country for enforcing borders. You know what? If you could go back several hundred years and collect all the tribes and chiefs and ask them, hey, what would you do differently? They'd probably say, you know what? We'd enforce our borders. We wouldn't let people in here uninvited. Seems like a smart idea, and they're right. And of course, nations in the 21st century understand that you don't let people just roll in uninvited. Open borders is a fantasy, and it's akin to modern anarchy. And anyone who is advocating for it lacks the intellectual capital to sustain substantive thought processes on complex issues. In short, they're dumb. And we don't like that very much. So listen, immigration is an important issue. There's no question we have between 11 and 30 million people in this country who don't belong here. Now, we've got to come up with solutions. I'm not suggesting there are easy solutions. I'm suggesting that doing what's right is probably going to be really, really, really hard. But at the end of the day, what we can never do, we can never reward illegal activity, and we can never say to an entire class of prospective illegal immigrants that if you come here and if you stake out a claim and if you stay long enough, some government, some group of people will say, well, you know what, we can't send them back. Well, you know what, we have to give them some kind of amnesty. Well, we're going to tear families apart. Let me tell you something. This country used to be run by people who understood what the rule of law meant. And yeah, you know what? I'm as human as anyone. I've tutored people in broken down communities. I've worked with the underprivileged, particularly people of color. I've worked with immigrants as a youth coach. I've worked with them as a mentor. I get it. I'm as human as you are. Trust me when I tell you that. But at the end of the day, you're either here legally or you're not. And when we decide that those laws and those rules don't matter, what is it that binds us together as a civil society? Tell me what it is. Listen, I'm sorry that things are miserable in your country. And the United States of America has its own sense of misery. But we created a system and a structure here. Bring it home. Bring it home to your country and make it better. I hope you do that. I want you to do that. I want you and your country to be successful. But you have no claim to the United States of America. And I don't care how long you've been here. And I don't care how many children you've had here. And we're going to talk about that issue on another tape, because the notion that you can break into the United States of America in an illegal act and be rewarded by having your children be American citizens is utter nonsense. It knows no basis in law or fact. We'll talk about that at another time. But that's it for Manic Monday. I'm Rich Kelsey. I'm a committed conservative. Thanks for checking us out. Go to committedconservative.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can follow me at Rich Kelsey on Twitter. So have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon.